Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday morning mastermind call with Daily Refinement. We do this Monday through Friday. Today, I want to talk a little bit more in depth about my concept of trading up, and I want to go over it with people in the group if you guys will have me. So, I think you should try to trade one process for another. So, I'm going to give you guys an example. Yesterday, Les was talking about her consignment experience on Monday, and she said, she would like to eventually be mostly an online seller because you get much better pricing. If you sell to a consignment shop, sort of the lowest hanging fruit, you're going to get um, $5 to $10 profit generally. If you go consignment on a really high end deal, you might get $40 to $100 on an item worth 500. So you might as well sell it yourself. So she was going to what she's doing right now for cash flow is she's selling it to local shops, but she wants to transition into something better. And that's what I'm talking about. So she's like, I'd like to be 90% online seller, 10% consignment. Maybe she just does consignment to break even on her cost of goods, and the rest of it is gravy. What I want to talk about on the morning calls, something I realized is all the biggest companies in the world, they conduct stand-up meetings where they basically go over what they want to work on for the day. And sorry. Um, is everybody goes over what they want to do for the day and what they wanted to improve or add. So I'll give you guys an example of what I want to work on today. Today, the TVs are, or we'll go over this week. TVs are arriving. I have two coming. They're going to have the process of what shows are happening that day, who's shipping them, basically a layout of the full production for the following day. I want that on the TV and I want it made the day before at 3 p.m. Yesterday, I heard something that really, really struck me, which is that if you make an improvement, but it doesn't correlate with a standard, then it's not an improvement. It's just a variation. And variation is what slows people down. So I think I know what daily refinement is. It's reducing variation in getting what you want. So, Catherine, can I ask you this morning? Can I put you on the spot? I'm talking about trading. So I'd like you to think about trading something you normally do with something else that you want to do. Is there something, a part of your process that you want to improve or exchange with a different one?
Yes, I want, I'm doing about half my listings in the morning now.
Yeah.
I would like to trade that to do all of my listings in the morning.
Okay, that's really good. How do we do that?
Well, huh, I think I just need to change the way I think about my schedule for the day. So, um, I can do listings while I'm sitting during this meeting, which is why I was doing like half in the morning. But after this meeting, I need to just continue doing that, maybe take, a 5 minute break and then start fresh and get the other half done. So they're just done for the day. That way, if I have time, any more time in the day to do listings later, I can just put them in scheduled and start building that up.
Okay, that's really, really good. Um, do you think you have enough time in the morning to get all of them done?
Yeah,
And then
because
are you also,
I can do about 9 to 10 listings during this call. And then so if I take a 5 minute break after this call, and then maybe like, well, Carrie's call is on, I can do the other 10. I'm doing 20 a day now.
okay,
I was doing 20 to 25 or trying to, and that wasn't working for me. So I'm just doing 10 jewelry, 10 clothing, and I could easily do that in 2 hours.
got it. Do you want to also work on the weekends?
No.
So you
So
want to
if
get
I have
all your
extra
list.
time during the day, I want to do scheduled listings.
Got it. So Monday through Friday, you want to get all your listings done in the morning session.
Yes.
What is there anything preventing you from doing that?
I am preventing me from doing that.
What kind of thing is getting in the way?
Well, I think, oh, I better get my shipping ready, or after this call, I feel like I need to listen to Carrie's call or do other things during the call, like cleaning jewelry or um getting my schedule updated or whatever. And I need to just dedicate that time to listing. Like that is all I'm going to do, no matter what I see around me that's distracting me. And that's maybe part of the problem is I need to move stuff out of my view when I'm sitting at my computer so I can just focus on listing and not get distracted by what I'm seeing around me.
This is good. I like the idea of having no decisions, like you just go and that's what you do.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, cool. That is an excellent example of trading up. You used to get all your listings done throughout the whole day, and then you get them done in the morning. That's excellent. Catherine, for less, yesterday she took 70 sets of photos. She's going to do 10 a day. I'm sorry, 14 a day, Monday through Friday, minimum. And that ends up being 10 a day, but she's going to take all the photos on Tuesday. And I was telling her yesterday, I actually would like her to just knock out all 70 on Tuesday. Just do the 10 and then schedule the other 60 because then she's done with it and doesn't have to worry about that the rest of the week. Um, and it's like, I
You mean
don't,
knock out all her listings, all
mhm,
70 listings?
yeah, because then she can spend 2 full days sourcing and 2 full days going to the consignment shops. And right now she's averaging 150 a day when she goes to the shops. And so she's making $300 on the 2 days that she's driving to the consignment shops. That's more than she's spending thrifting. She's not at that. She's only spending like maybe 100 to 200 bucks a week on new stuff. So she's already profitable. Now we have to work on her store, but I'm positive she can do all 70 listings on Tuesday, and then then she doesn't have to worry about it the rest of the week.
Do you know how many she does an hour?
Um, so yesterday what she did was she says the hardest part of her is title research. So she did that first, and I'm not gonna force her to do it anyway in the beginning, but she just wrote all 20. She did 20. Um, she took 70 sets of photos, but she's gonna do 20 listings. So she wrote 20 titles, and then now she's going to post it on eBay, Depop, Poshmark. We dropped Mercari. Mercari was not something she wanted to continue. So over time, hopefully she drops things. So then
Right.
just three. And then eventually, so she's going to list 20 on 3 platforms today. And from her first experiment was about 6 listings an hour. So I imagine it's going to take her most of the day.
Yep.
So she's saying that from her experience, titles and research takes the longest. Lauren's saying the same thing. So
Yep.
she's doing that first. And so the way that she's doing that, because she's currently doing 100% of the listings on her phone, she's on her computer researching, and then she writes the title in her notes app. That's
And
her
she
current.
might find too that when she starts doing listings on the computer that it's faster.
Yeah, definitely. But then this is the an example of the trading up,
Yep.
right? Right now, she doesn't have a listing area. So what she does is she just takes the photos and then she sits in the break area and lists on her phone. That's the current process. But if we don't have this, if we don't have any standardization, then we can't improve. So her current process is take photos on a hanger, sit down at the break room, and list them on her phone. And Lauren's asking if I'm having her optimizing the titles for eBay. So she's optimizing titles for eBay, and then on Poshmark and Depop, it's a shorter title. So she does eBay title first, and then the other 2 platforms, it's a shortened version. And because it takes 3 times as long to list on 3 platforms, I think eventually she's gonna naturally come to the conclusion to just do one because even using software is more time. Go ahead, Lauren. Question, comment.
Oh, yeah. I was just thinking about that. I was going to ask kind of what you answered of like, for me personally, if I cross list, I optimize it to eBay. That's where I start all my listings. And then it gets cross-posted mainly only to Poshmark in my case, but I just do like carbon copy of eBay and then double check the pricing on Poshmark to see if it's consistent. And then I try to do their like style tags or whatever. But I don't know that the eBay format is what works best on Poshmark, but I don't know if it's like as particular with their algorithm and stuff. So
One thing she's noticed, Lauren, is that things definitely sell for more money on Poshmark and Depop than eBay. She actually compared eBay to the flea market. She's been going to different places. She's like, the prices on eBay are actually quite low. But the people on Poshmark, Lauren, are much more unreasonable. Your competition's much more unreasonable. So something that sells for $25 on eBay, it's probably listed for $95 on Poshmark, even though that's completely unreasonable.
I remember you saying that with your experience with Poshmark too, of like how overpriced people are compared to the market. And yeah, it's really interesting. I remember a few weeks ago I had a girl that works at one of the like local thrift shops. She's 18 and she told me that people in her generation will buy like a Love Shack fancy dress or something, for example. They'll just like buy it outright and they don't do the research and they don't look at the pricing. And I don't know what my experience has been like. I know, for example, I sold a pair of Biore jogger pants that were like this green color, and I sold them for $85 and they were pre-owned, but the color was discontinued, and those sold like overnight on Poshmark. But I would say, I don't know, I've had kind of similar experience between the two. So anyway, it's interesting to compare notes.
While we have you, Lauren, is there something that you want to improve or trade up?
I was trying to think about that. So I told you last week that I was looking to batch my photos in sets of 28. My listing goal is 15 a day. So I have done that maybe 2 out of the 7 days. I haven't done that every single day. So I'm trying to think what I'm trading up right now. I mean, currently, I don't quite have it figured out of what my good answer is. Currently, I'm looking to increase my sales. So I've been running a coupon because I'm kind of in the trap of I have put my inventory on a credit card that I'm paying off every month. And so I went full time in April. So April, May, June, this is month 4 for me. So I'm kind of at that point of I wasn't completely paying attention to like my cost of goods and my number of items. So that's kind of my like focus is I'm trying to and of course that's not due to like anyone's advice or lack thereof. It's just me getting into that mode of like, okay, I need to source 105 items a week. How am I going to do that? And kind of getting out of focus, not paying attention as much to like, in my case, I'm like, get hyper focused sometimes on like making sure I'm getting the best inventory. So I don't exactly have that figured out of how I'm trading that up, other than I am only going to my one thrift store that's been like my highest producer. I'm trying to be more cognizant of like my number of pieces I'm buying and what's my cost of good on the trip and then on the week. And so I have like a mental note of like, okay, I've bought 40 pieces this week. My average cost is around $5 so far. So, and then I know I still have excess inventory in my queue that I'm like working through. So I was trying to do like a load of laundry every morning to make sure that I'm like getting that knocked out and prepped. So I'm rambling at this point, but I guess I'm thinking about all of that.
So I think that this trading up concept might be a little bit too difficult. We don't need to think of something too crazy. It could just be let's try Larry. Larry's talking about sourcing. Can you give us an idea of what you want to improve with that?
Yeah, what I want to do is avoid having to spend 2 or 3 days driving around to find $20 items. Instead, I'm trying to build relationships with people that have the inventory I'm looking for. So they're calling me, and I make fewer trips that include higher ASP items with less effort. That's what I'm focusing on here for the next couple of months.
So you'd rather the inventory literally come to you, or do
No,
you
no,
want?
no, just um, where I would get a call from a vendor or a
Got it.
source that would say, "Hey, I've saved up some stuff here. I think you might be interested." And I've got a meeting in 2 hours with a guy who basically said that, "Hey, I've been storing up some stuff for you. I think it's time for you to come by." And so now I'm going to be coming by there, and I know that going there will return 5 to 20 items at a pretty good sell through, or not
That's
sell through, at a high ASP. And he's very good to work with. What I want to do is I've got about 3 of those sources now. I've got a list of about 35 more, and I've contacted 5 yesterday, and I want to hit 5 a day here until my list runs out.
Let me think here. So the natural progression here would be like you drive around manually, find all these items, then then you basically work with people who do that. They either buy bulk or they're the ones going around looking for those items, and they contact you and they have more. You
Mhm.
pay them a little finder's fee on top of what they normally pay, probably. And then
Mhm.
um, I think that paying up for quality items, I think let's try to think of some downsides because I think
Yeah,
that that is probably the safest. Um, it's like the safest model to end at, like the final version of reselling. I think the safest model is probably just only good items and paying up for them if you have to, or getting a good deal if you can.
yeah. The going to the thrifts was just not doing it for me because I was putting in lots of hours and getting lots and lots of $20 sale price items. And that's just too much like a job for me. So when I'm trying to identify sources for $50 items, $300 items, that sort of thing.
Got it. I think that's a really good way to do it. I one of my key tenets for success is selling high value, high uniqueness items. And you can pay more for a high value, high uniqueness. For example, Lauren had mentioned earlier the brand Vuori. There are a lot of pieces that even for clothing that you could pay $20 for. And that seems like a lot, but the brand is very popular. So it's not as scary. Like paying $20 a piece for Patagonia or better is not that risky if you're buying pieces that have a record. But buying, to Larry's point, buying, let's call it Columbia. I would say Columbia is a little bit lower than North Face. Buying a Columbia piece for $2 might be more risky than a Patagonia at 20 for a jacket, just because it's a little lower tier and it's more saturated at the bottom.
A couple of specific examples. Instead of buying like music DVDs, I've run across box sets. So if I see a box set, they tend to go faster. They tend to be have a higher return because they are a set. They are a curated collection. I got a Led Zeppelin box set this past weekend for $4, and I'm listing it tomorrow. It's going to go for around 70, $75. Same thing for Pink Floyd. I got an 8 CD set from Pink Floyd. I think the guy charged me like $8, and that's worth 100. I'd much rather do that than sell 8 CDs for $8 a piece. So I'm trying to find these sources of these higher quality items.
I love it. So, Lauren, something I think that would be a smaller thing would be like if Larry was like, I'm just gonna make a list of people that might be fit this criteria, and
Hmm.
then have the list on my computer, and then maybe I start the day by texting those 8 people
Hmm.
like what's available. I just did that. It kind of backfired, but I asked all the people before I was trying to buy some new inventory. I asked everybody, and then I think I don't know, it didn't. I guess I'm not used to it, but I think that is the right way. You're ready to buy something, you ask, you get as many opportunities to find the high value, high uniqueness as possible before you make a decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been trying to think about what you said the other week when we had a adjacent conversation, and I was saying that I go to a consignment shop like maybe once a month or every 2 weeks or something, and you said, okay, well, every twice a week would be a better frequency for checking for those things. And so I'm trying to find like my balance for putting myself in the position to find the best quality items, but also not be like overspending on said items every single week, if that makes sense. So trying to be conscious of the budget, but also putting myself in position to find the higher quality items, that are probably going to be on trend more so. So just mentally, that doesn't make sense. But what I think about doing is going to the thrift store or stores that are the highest producers for me first thing in the week. And then if you get to the point where it's like, okay, I'm halfway through the week and I don't have enough items that meet my metric, then I'm going to the consignment or whatever, trying to get it on the cheap and just being in position every single day, doing the same thing every day, like we've been talking about. So I'm thinking about that versus setting this goes against advice, but like if I need the self-control of like setting a consignment store budget of like, okay, I have $100 of house money or 200 or whatever is reasonable within my business, and like have that mental limit. And then tying back to what you're saying about Larry, like having the lines or whatever that I'm checking of like this store, that store.
Thank you, Lauren. So ultimately, we all want to sell high value, high uniqueness. You have to put yourself in the best position possible to review as many options as possible. As an example, we talked about yesterday the difference between a camera and a box of Legos, right? So ultimately, you want to always have the option of box of Legos. You want all of the options in the period of time that you have to choose, so you can pick the one that matches your business the best. And people get in a lot of trouble when they don't have very many options. If you need the list and you go to a garage sale and there's nothing except for, 2,000 Beanie Babies for $30, and you're like, okay, fine, I'll just pick these up and try to make it work. So if you have all the options, though, you can just pick the one that literally makes the most sense. Catherine.
The problem, though, that a lot of us have run into, because we all want to sell, high value,
Yeah.
high sell-through rate, is that conflicts with doing, like, if I'm doing 20 listings a day,
Yeah.
I can't always find 20 items for
Yep.
every day that are high value, high sell-through rate.
Yep. So
I
what
rarely
people,
find those things. So we've run into that problem where then do you balance it with the things that, have a higher sell-through rate, but don't bring in much money, or, what's the balance for that?
okay, so this is what happens. People don't find enough high value, high uniqueness items. So they find high value, low uniqueness, which that's like um the example that I heard when I was listening to the report was a handmade mug, right? There's nothing more unique than a handmade mug. Somebody made it. There's one of one. It's amazing, right? But it's like it's like or I'm sorry, that's a low value, high uniqueness. That was the example. Um, it doesn't have a tremendous amount of value in the market because regular mugs are relatively cheap, and there are also really cool mugs for relatively cheap. Very difficult to stand out, but people will buy it because it's unique. And then the high value, low sell through rate is like antiques and collectibles. generally take a really long time to sell, and they're high value, but then your money gets stuck in that item. So Catherine, if you buy like, you can't reach your 20 item goal because there's no fast sell through items. So you end up buying 20 vintage lamps that are all worth 300. You could post those and reach your 20 listing goal, but then all your money is tied up in these lamps that only sell once every 3 months. Or you buy all this unique stuff and you price it a little bit lower. And I personally think that it's better to list one good item than 20 mediocre items. You just have to find a way to survive until you can get only the best items. Go ahead, Meg. Good morning.
Morning. Yeah, I think that in terms of trading up and improving, it's a constant process, because definitely could have in the past fallen into that trap of like, oh, I need to get something to list, and then I got home, or I realized halfway through like shopping at the thrift store being like, why do I even have this in my hand or my cart? Like, this doesn't meet the metric. So instead of doing that, I try to keep in mind like, okay, that just means I don't know enough or haven't gone to the right places, that kind of thing. So I've made a conscious effort to like do more research so I can find the things that like meet the metric better. And I think maybe that would help people. And I need to remind myself to do it more, like to not fall into that trap. Like, how many people here have like researched anything yesterday, kind of thing.
Is that what you're gonna work on right now?
I think that's a constant thing for just to always work on. But my thing to work on this week is get ahead and actually do a draft bank for once, because I'm moving like in 2 weeks, and I know like those first 2 days, like I probably won't have time to list or anything. So I need to actually do it.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think. Well, so what's the first step for you building a draft bank?
Make a plan of how many per day I'm gonna put away. So let's say I'll be realistic and say 3 a day to not actually list them. To have
Okay.
them.
So what's the draft bank first stage for you? How many do you want?
I guess try to do 3 days worth, let's say. So, and I'll make sure I can meet the goal. So let's say I want to do 7 a day. So 21.
Do you want to integrate it into your process? Like, for example, you always now launch from your drafts, or do you want to schedule and not use drafts? How do you want to set the
I
system
think
up?
launch from drafts, and that would be good to get into that habit. So maybe today I can like jump ahead, because I've always wanted it to be like, okay, in the morning I launch all the ones that I already have. So it just feels less stressful to have to get them done that day. I mean,
100%.
I say still every day to do them, but yeah, to be one day ahead would be nice at least.
Okay, so let's aim for that goal of being one ahead, because I really, really like let me see here. I'll put this here. I think the peace of mind you get from not needing to do any listings today because you already have some ready to go. What do you guys think? Is that not one of the top possible things you could have as a reseller? Because that means you could do literally nothing today, but you would still get your listings up.
Yeah, because the opposite is really crappy when like something bad happens or whatever, and then like, oh, I don't have time to list.
So for you, what's an ultimate draft bank? A week?
Nah, it's 2 to 3 days is more realistic, and knock on wood, I haven't had an emergency that's more than that.
Okay. So I'm going to recommend 1 to 2 weeks. The reason is because if you were organized enough, Meg, to be 1 week fully ahead, I think that organization is worth it. I don't think you would ever need 7 days. You don't seem like that type of person. But the discipline and like the preparedness to get 140 plus listings ahead for you, that's like really intense. Like then you start to get all the benefits of working for yourself because you can take a week off.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think I'll start with the 3 days and then hopefully that'll propel me to go forward and keep it going.
yep. What you need to start with is the habit of launching from drafts. It could just be one until you get that
True.
habit.
True. I just need to suck it up and do the work today to start the getting ahead part.
Hmm.
Okay.
Lauren is saying it's important to keep doing work on that day instead of just not doing anything because you have your draft set up. And that's like the perpetual problem is that um, next week, those listings will be gone if you don't use it. So it's like the goal is to have the 1 week draft bank unused, right? Instead of like borrowing from it, taking the day off. So how I look at that is I remember meeting a reseller when I was in Kansas City that switched to a rental business. So he's like, I'm tired of like buying and selling stuff, and then the next week I don't have anything. So I'm gonna just rent things, and then next month they got to bring it back, and then I don't have to do that anymore. And he started a equipment rental service, and he did really good. And the reason why I knew him is because I used his service for the AV at that event. He brought in the speakers and the stage and all that stuff. He used to be a reseller, but he switched to equipment rentals, which is like I think it's a pretty cool business to invest in because weddings, events, those are always things that happen. Okay, let's go with Devin. Devin, what's something that you can trade up for or improve?
I was sitting here trying to figure out what the topic was for today because I was going in the kitchen whenever you had started the call.
All good. One thing you want to improve in your business.
Well, as of this morning, is to make sure your shipping policies are in place so don't get any veros.
Yes.
That's what I'm dealing with right now.
Okay, so you said shipping and Vero?
I had a batch of about 20 Nike dry fit shirts that were new with tags, and did not realize I had a had a vero back from May because we had one that got returned, and it was because it was international. I think it was international shipping. So I got a vero for that back in May. I just now noticed it this morning because I got a different vero for a Travis Matthews shirt that was listed yesterday, and it was for the Ryder Cup. But when I went to go and look at the shirt, it has Ryder Cup just monogrammed, embroidered on it. It doesn't actually have the logo. So basically, it was a company shirt that back from the 2020, back when it was up in Whistling Straits, up there in Oregon.
Mhm.
And so it wasn't an official shirt. It was just something that was on the sleeve. So that's why it got popped because there's over 1,000 listed for it.
Makes
Um,
sense.
but as far as I'm sorry, what was the original question again, please?
The original question is what can you improve this week? And before you continue, both of those things are things you could improve, like your
Yeah,
shipping and your Vero.
I'm in my business policies right now, creating new ones for newer tags. Um, I'm just trying to get consistency on the sourcing. What I've realized is that sometimes when we go to the flea market, we strike out. A couple of weeks ago, I went to 3 different flea markets and brought home a total of 17 items. And what I'm realizing now is that I do have a relationship with people, and I know they're hurting this summer as well because I'm getting phone calls and text messages from vendors. And I realize I need to just hit these people up, once every 2 or 3 weeks versus every single week. Um, all the big flea markets around here are about 45 minutes away from me, and each of them are about 45 minutes from each other. So, when I go out on Saturday or Sunday, I'm looking at about 3 hours of driving just between destinations and home. So, I'm just trying to get, like I said, I'm trying to get just more to where that it's more of a consistent basis because I hate having to scramble to do all my sourcing in one day.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to add that to one of the rules that we want. So I'm going to put 7 to 14 day draft bank, 14 days of inventory unlisted in queue. So in case you can't find anything, you already have a backup of things that you can just list from. And I'm going to put 10 sales a day at $20 profit. Now, the reason why I'm going to put that, and you don't have to have that. There's going to be people who have different business models, and maybe you never sell an item for $20 profit. I'm just putting that there as the goal. So, and I'm putting 10 sales a day because like that's like a future goal. Because also most people listening right now don't have a 14-day draft bank either. But Devin, I was just thinking about you because you have currently a job that you don't like, perhaps, and you would like to replace that job that you don't like with this job, which you like more, potentially. Do you like it
Correct.
more? Even if you
Absolutely
don't
like
like
this
it
one.
more, maybe you like it less, but it might give you more freedom to be with your family.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that being said, there's certain things that this business has that would yield what you're looking for. So for me, to pay all my bills, really, I need to have 30 sales a day at $20 profit to pay for my lifestyle. And I have built a machine that can do more than that. So I'm okay. So that's the idea behind when people are, for example, the machine that you work for, you do a certain number of tasks and it makes it worth it for the owner to pay you X amount of money. And because it's one of those jobs that you have a job that has limited flexibility with time, but you don't get paid for that. Like sometimes people are on call and they get rewarded for that. They're like, we're gonna pay you like a fireman. They work 24-hour shifts sometimes, 48-hour shifts sometimes. And they don't they get paid the whole time, even though they're there. And when they're not at work, they're not at work. So like with reselling, it's interesting because you get money while you're sleeping, but you need the system set up. So I'm actually thinking I want to hear Lauren and Meg's opinion of this, or anybody in the group. What do you
Well,
guys think of
let me
having a
finish up.
thousand?
Let me finish up real quick. When it came, those that week, 2 weeks ago, when I only had those 17 items, I have plenty of stock. I mean, I've got a garage. It's not a death pile. It's stuff that's ready to go. Just needs to be photographed and listed. I mean, it's all in order and stuff like that. So it did. I wasn't upset that I only got 17 items. It was more the fact that I spent 3 to 5 hours and only came home with that much. So it wasn't like a devastating week, as far as like I wasn't scrambling. Oh my God, I don't have nothing to list for the week.
So that was like kind of relates back to what Larry was saying earlier, like driving around is kind of a grind, right? And sometimes you don't find enough stuff, and sometimes you worry. Like, what if you go to 5 stops in a row and don't find a single item? Right. And then here's the opposite side. If you find 20 items at the first store, can you keep going? Or do you just feel like going home? Right? Because Les will text me,
It,
hey,
it,
this
it made
store
me
did.
have to do the time of day. I mean,
Yeah,
have you ever been here at all? Have you ever visited Dallas area?
I have.
Okay. The one thing that I get from a lot of clients from California, they are shocked about how far spread everything is spread out. I mean, for you to
From
drive 30, 45 minutes for anything is just normal for us.
I think from Dallas to Houston feels like the one city to me.
It's 4.5 hours.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It's like four and a half
Dallas,
hours of the same thing.
El Paso is closer to the California state line than it is to Dallas.
Yeah, I know. That's insane. I actually when I was talking to Tino, the soul advisor, and he told me that he sources from 10 to 10 for shoes. And I'm like, how does that look? He's like, I just drive 10 hours in one direction, like I 5 hours in one direction and get as many stops along the way and then on the way back. There's like enough, but there's enough. I think he lives in Dallas. He's like, there's literally city for 5 hours in one direction. But it's true, I've been there. Everything is more spread out. There's a lot of the, just the freeway system in general is completely different in Texas than it is out here. You guys have a lot of those exits where anyway, I don't know what those are called, but you like get off and there's
The
these
U-turn exit.
A Texas
The
U-turn.
U-turn.
Texas U-turn thing. They don't have that here. Those are cool.
Well, what we were just my Facebook timeline reminded me that we were in LA 5 years ago to renew her passport. And when I purposely got a car to rent because I wanted to know what it was like to drive in LA. I know it sounds crazy, but the one thing that blew my mind that there are on the regular streets, so your main thoroughfares through town, there are no protected left-hand lanes to turn left in. So if you're in that left-hand lane, if it's a 4-lane road, if you're in the left-hand lane trying to go straight, you're screwed. They make you might take 3 or 4 light cycles just to be able to turn left. But we're also used to pulling up into the crosswalk like it's no big deal because nobody uses a crosswalk here. I mean, there's nobody on the street to walk across it. When I pulled up through the crosswalk and in Beverly Hills, I had people slamming their hand, slamming the hood of the car because I'm a foot and a half into the crosswalk area.
Yeah. It is it's funny in LA, you can get a ticket for jaywalking too. And that's like not so uncommon in most states. Like so Lauren is saying that it balances out and you have to do the same thing. I agree with this because I told Les, if for some reason you go to the first store and they like take way more items, you still have to do your route because there's going to be days where you don't get anything. So this is going to be a scenario where what happened yesterday or on Monday rather for her was very odd. She went to the first store and they only took 2 items and she said, oh wow, it's going to be a long day because she brought in however many bags. Then the next store it took 28 items, which is weird because the first store had all of the same options, but just it is what it is. But then she was like, I did really good. And I'm like, still got to go to the rest of them because we're doing 5 a day. And I feel like that goal is very straightforward. So she's going to go to 5 a day, regardless of how many she finds. Okay, so
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it's like focusing on the aspects you can control, and like we can't control if we're doing the same thing every single day. Like even if you're going to the gym every single day, doing the same workout, which I suppose you're not doing the same workout every day, but anyway, some days you're able to perform at 80% and other days it's 40%, and you can't really control well, you can control, but in terms of like what's available at the flea market or the thrift store, like we have no control over what's going to get brought out one particular day. That is what we sell or meet our metric. So
this is okay. This is my recommendation so far. I wonder why I did this. Okay, I don't know why it numbered it like that. 7 to 14 day draft bank, 10 sales a day times $20 profit. I think you need 1,000 quality items in your store, either $20 or more, or they meet your minimum metrics. And then a repeatable sourcing method that yields your weekly listing needs. So let's say, for example, actually, Larry, what is your listing goal per day?
I recently bumped it to 10.
Okay,
I need to get it to 12 here pretty soon.
so let's call it 12. For Larry to get 84 items, he needs a repeatable sourcing method that yields that. So that's what you would want to work on each day.
And that is my number one issue with this business.
Is the sourcing part?
Yeah, the photography's well that and reset to 0, but that's a personal problem. The photography I've got for shipping, packing, I'm very efficient at that. I think it's the sourcing that's it's just a grind.
Melanie, do you want to share what's something that you're working on?
I need to work on my schedule. I have a very flexible schedule and I need to have one that's more routine.
What's one thing that you want to add or make recurring?
Well, one thing I need to do, and it's a personal thing, but I have a very busy life like all of us. And when I go to bed about 10 o'clock, but I consider that me time. and I start watching stuff on my screen. And I know that about 11:30, I should turn it off and be done with it. But I don't. I end up staying up till like, I'm sort of an insomniac anyway, but I end up staying up till like 12:30, sometimes 1 o'clock. And then getting up for like this call, it makes it really hard. And it also makes me tired in the morning. So I really need to be more strict with allowing myself 1 hour of screen time, turning off the lights so that I can get up without feeling like I'm, so tired and drug out. And then the mornings just are not as productive. So, and also I don't have a set time, like I should be listening while we're in these calls, and I don't do that. So I'm going to start, even this morning, I'm going to move the circle over to my pad. So during Carrie's call, I can list. So those are some things I need to work on.
Okay. There's a lot there. I think I just picked one or two of those to start with. That's a lot. Like I don't remember my Instagram password, so I haven't been on there for a really long time. So I think that there's things that we can do to prevent or reduce screen time. And yeah, I actually I have had YouTube Premium pretty much my whole life. And I unsubscribed to it. Now I can't watch YouTube. There's so many ads. I can't watch it. After not having ads for so many years, now there's a commercial every 4 minutes. I can't watch it. It's actually making me potentially do my videos on YouTube with no ads. It's just like so painful to listen to something that has 50 ads in it. So it's hard.
I also canceled my premium to make it less easy to sit there and just watch.
Great. It's funny that I heard LeBron James say that he doesn't pay for the premium subscription for Spotify. And he's like, if it's music I like, I buy the music. If it's Spotify, which is recommending music that I don't know if I like it or not, they're just recommending it to me, which is a cool service, but like I want to use that less, so I don't pay for that. It's just funny because just because you can doesn't mean you want that. Meg says you can use parental controls and make your iPad turn off at a certain time. I like that. Meg says that it was a good thing to look at Temu's advertising. Temu's ads are everywhere, and they really, really do a good job of getting into everyone's brain. And Temu does as much business as Amazon, so it's pretty insane. Devin, did you have a thought?
Yeah, I was gonna say I wish that there was a setting within not Netflix, but within YouTube that allowed you to block certain content creators. Because my kids watch these these dude perfect knockoffs, like Unbreak. One of the groups I called Unstoppable or something like that. All I do is hear the yelling from the television. It's like my kids cannot watch anything that people just talk at a normal voice, whether it's Minecraft videos or what. The characters or the people that are the characters in these cartoons or the people in these videos, it's just they just yell at the camera, and it just drives me insane. I wish I could block individual creators.
What I've noticed is that just from having two young kids, they respond very, very, very differently depending on the volume of your voice. So the reason they're yelling is they're targeting kids. That doesn't work on, I mean, it turns adults off, but for kids, since they're so new and impressionable, when you're yelling, they don't get that at home. It gets their attention. It's kind of sad, but if you're making content for kids and you're yelling, kids will latch onto it.
So when we were young, we played, like Super Mario is a perfect example. You get these games you would play as a kid, and they just had the constant repeating, same music, the same song, just the entire game, Nowadays, whatever it is they're playing, it drives me insane. But maybe it's because I'm not participating in it, but I should be hearing it in the background. Whatever they're playing is just, I'm like, Harris, you do not need to listen to that song. That either turn off the volume or put headphones on. Maybe I'm just getting old, one of the two.
one more thought for everybody is what we're doing right now is we're building a giant to-do list. So my saying is your reselling business is a giant recurring to-do list to create value for your customers. So for example, if Larry gets the options of 50 record players that he can sell and he gets to choose from them, in my opinion, that would give him the best opportunity to deliver value for his customers because he could pick the best one and then sell that one. So everything that you're doing is actually just making it easier for your customer to buy from you more of what they want. And that is very, very important.
I think our process has become our to-do, or that's kind of analogous to what you're describing there.
Yes.
There are daily habits or weekly routines. It's when you go to sell a business, not like I'm planning on selling this thing or anything, but it's your processes that's the value, and your processes that generate a repeatable income. That's what people are paying the money for. That's the value.
The repeatable income is from repeatable value. So like, you know what's funny, Larry? Not funny, but the only guaranteed recurring money in reselling is supplying other resellers. If I could say to Larry, on Monday, delivered to your door will be every single item will sell for 100 or more, 90-day proof. It will sell in 90 days or less, right? It costs $40, including shipping, and you get 70 of them. So on Monday morning, it arrives. Every single item sells for over 100, less than 90 days, and it costs you $40 a piece. Every person here would subscribe to that forever. If you could have some kind of guaranteed, and even more ridiculous would be like, and every single item, one of these items is fun. That would be people's dream. Imagine that service where like you basically only need like 5 customers. Yeah. No, but well, what I mean is it's a little bit a different example than the selling shovels of the gold rush. Because it's what I'm talking about is the wholesale gold sellers. That's what I'm talking about. Because like it's just crazy how many people need stuff to sell.
And then it becomes the sourcing and a logistics business.
Mm-hmm.
Moving the inventory, finding it, and getting it delivered.
Go ahead, Meg.
Yeah, I do that for sourcing, partially where I buy like giant boxes of jewelry and like from people I've bought from in the past where I know like I will at least make my money back, but every time I've made like much more than that because I know that there's enough value in the box and I can create the value by putting some of the jewelry pieces together to make like a unique lot. And then on the other hand, like I want to look into later, like but being able to buy enough like craft jewelry, like so it's like broken or whatever, just some pretty rhinestones that crafters like, but to buy enough to be able to be the wholesaler. Because if I can buy it cheap enough and sell it off at like double or triple the price, which is possible if I could find enough, I'd be happy with that business model. That's fine. It's just people being unhappy with it if it's not exactly perfect for their crafts kind of thing.
Yeah. I think that the model that has been around forever is the retail model that works where you have a store and like you stock it with stuff and then once a year you buy new stuff and stock it and you have somebody working there and that's forever. The resale model is really different because it's like it's so it fluctuates so much. Like I could send Larry stuff that's great this week and it might not be great in 3 months. or 6 months. And it's also seasonal is the problem. That would mean that like I need to send summer items in the summer and winter items in the winter. And that's like the reseller profit subscription box would sell a bajillion dollars, but it's not really reasonable. It's not realistic, especially unless you have like unless it's not the high value, high sell through item. It's either going to be high value, low sell through rate, or high sell through rate, low value.
It's that seasonality and the aging process of inventory that kind of is keeping me away from some bulk purchases.
Yeah.
You know, I'd hate to drop $5,000 on a, 500 items or whatever, just to have them go out of season, and then I are out of vogue or whatever, out of demand, and then
Yep.
I'm fire selling the stuff for a loss. I think your model is awesome, Chris. Will you buy it and you're not going to sit on it for more than 2 or 3 weeks? You know, if you turn it fast, you kind of eliminate some of that risk.
I just realized that it has to be around, in my opinion, a year. Sadly, Larry, the turning over stuff right away, you leave too much money on the table.
Yeah.
That's the part that is so freaking interesting. The 90-day sell-through rate is I might do a video on that. It's not realistic because for 90-day sell-through rate to happen, there's only 2 things. Actually, let me write this down. There's only one model that 90-day sell-through rate always works, and that's you're the good deal model. Everything in your store is a great deal. That's that doesn't matter what category you're in. It's just really, really good. Then people will always, if Larry will put like 50-inch TVs in his store for $89 free shipping, he'd have a really, really fast sell-through rate. So good deal is the only way to get that sell-through rate high, but then it's hard to get. That's going to be what I recommend for people who need money right now. You need to have a store full of good deals. Lauren?
I know it's at time, but that's good about the good deals. And something I think